To be honest, I really did not know how or where to start when it came to Mr. Logue. So I found that it was best just to write a letter. Dear Mr. Logue, I never really knew it would be this difficult to find the words to say how thankful I and everyone else here at SSA feels about you. I think the best way to start off is with a quote or a rule made by Mr. Logue. There is no crying in calculus. And, well, Mr. Logue, I hate to inform you, but I can now accurately say that I did not follow that rule very well. However, I can say to Mr. Logue that as much as it didn't seem like it, I really did try to follow it. I know that you are not one for emotions, especially when it involves tears, but my goal of this speech is to at least try to make you tear up. Many of you may know Mr. Logue as the following: a football coach, a math teacher, a track coach, a really tall teacher, or a dorm advisor. But there is so much more to Mr. Logue than what is seen from the surface level. Mr. Logue is one of the most supportive teachers here at SSA that I know. Mr. Logue knows how to cheer up a student who may not feel confident about an assignment or a newly learned math topic. He will listen to a crazy story about just about anything, even shapes, at a community dinner table. He will offer his help whether on duty or not in the dorms to assist a student studying the night before a test in the Croft Common Room. I can even say that weirdly enough, Mr. Logue has a funny, witty comment that can always make you crack a smile, even through the tears of a college decision in the dining hall. Finally, he has even been able to force a laugh through the tears in your eyes when he himself tells your class that he is leaving. Mr. Logue is a strong presence from Croft to the classroom. I could not have imagined SSA without him as a teacher and as a mentor in the residential life community. Thank you, Mr. Logue, for all the help with math when I, as well as others, struggled, for all the support when we as students felt as though we could not achieve, for all the laughs when all we saw was sadness and confusion, or for all the funny videos to a sophomore class that just wasn't talkative. Good luck with your next chapter, but please do not forget this one, because I promise all of us here at SSA won't forget you. Thank you, Mr. Logue. I, as well as everyone here at Shady Academy, will miss you, and thank you.
The first person I saw on the second floor of Hunt was a lady with brown hair and a smile that goes from ear to ear. My peppy, soon-to-be Spanish teacher, Miss Alvarez. On my first day, her calm demeanor put me and my classmates immediately at ease. But for me, that ease didn't last long. Almost as soon as everyone sat down, she began speaking words that sounded closer to an alien language than anything I had ever heard before, even though all she probably said was "Hola, ¿cómo estás?" Needless to say, for the next few days, I did a lot of smiling and nodding, and after freaking out and deciding that I was definitely going to move down a section, or probably two, I went up to her and asked for her help. But instead of just signing the drop form I asked her to, she smiled, and without hesitation gave me her time, sitting with me for hours and hours for weeks on end to teach me prepositions, irregular conjugations, and more, so that, little by little, I started to understand. In those sessions, she made things fun and relaxed, but above all, she wasn't afraid of opening up to me as a student and being vulnerable about her own life, inspiring me to do my best. And after becoming my first influence at Shadyside, Miss Alvarez became my advisor. The kind of advisor with whom you don't need to make a meeting, because her door is always open, ready for you to just show up and talk, because she listens, she cares, and she goes out of her way to help. When I asked others how Miss Alvarez has impacted them, I immediately got dozens of responses, citing her warm humor, authentic personality, and source of conversation when school dances get boring, showing just how much she matters to this school and the people in it. Over her almost 8 years at Shadyside, as a teacher, advisor, and dorm parent, Miss Alvarez's genuine care for students, sympathetic nature, creativity, and passion for teaching have helped shape the lives of many and made our community a better place. Señora Alvarez, esto no es adiós, ni chao, ni hasta luego, sino una gran ola a tu futuro tan brillante. La aventura de tus sueños convertidos a realidad, que te vas a navegar con laureles de nuestro respeto. Admiración sin fin. Porque estos salones sagrados con toda la vida dentro, la esencia de nuestra escuela. Siempre va a estar acá, para ti. Thank you for everything that you've done. You will be missed.
The first time I walked in the math office my freshman year, I was honestly very nervous as every teacher looked busy and I wasn't sure who to walk up to when my teacher wasn't there. I just decided to leave and figured I would come back another day and hope my teacher would be there. Later that week, I once again walked into the math office, and as soon as I stepped in, Mrs. Ament immediately turned around to face me. She introduced herself, of course, asked me for my name, and wanted to see how she could help. A huge weight was lifted from my shoulders. That day, Mrs. Ament not only helped me with the problems I had questions on, but she was interested in my life outside of school. I didn't expect this from her, as I was not her student, so I didn't expect her to be so interested in my life. However, this is the awesome person that Mrs. Ament is. From that day forward, I always felt comfortable walking into the math office with a question for her. Starting my sophomore year, I became a part of Mrs. Ament's advisory, which was always just as warm and welcoming as she is. I would also like to point out that in the 3 years that I've been part of this advisory, she has never let our advisory go snackless, as she always bakes us a treat in the case that someone forgets to bring a snack. In advisory, we do an activity called Rosebud Thorn, which is a way students can share something good in their life, something they are looking forward to, and something that is not going well. I feel that this truly embodies Mrs. Ament's personality, as she is never afraid to ask her students what is wrong, while also reminding them to think of what is going right in their life and what is positive. I will definitely carry this mindset with me throughout my life, as it always is a good reminder that even on the worst days, something, no matter how small, will be going right. This year, I was lucky enough to finally have Mrs. Ament as my math teacher. She was always willing to have a laugh, but is well respected by her students, which made it easy when it was time to be focused. Mrs. Ament will always go out of her way to help students, including the numerous times she'd held review sessions, with pizza of course, after school for our PIT exams. After one of our review sessions, we were trapped on campus due to icy roads, and there was a crash right outside of the entrance to the school. Mrs. Ament made sure that each of her students had a plan and a safe place to be until the roads cleared up. This seems standard for any teacher to do, but what stood out to me is that she gave each of us her number and asked for us to text her as soon as we got home to make sure we arrived safely. I am so grateful that I've been able to spend my past 4 years being mentored by such an amazing person, and the Shadyside community will definitely miss her heartwarming personality. Enjoy your retirement, Mrs. Ament. You deserve it.
Every day for the past 4 years, I've had the same routine of driving or getting driven to school, groggily trying to wake myself up as I pass the art building and emerge into the Hillman parking lot. My best school days begin when, during those 15 seconds, I have the pleasure of seeing Mr. Aiken's peppy stride up the hill, briefcase in hand, ready to take on the day. He moves with an earnest and lively strut, radiating positivity that is contagious to myself and the rest of the Shadyside community. His persona makes it so evident to everyone on campus that Mr. Aiken has a tremendous passion and dedication for his job. He is the kind of teacher who goes the extra mile, involving himself in numerous activities around campus, solely for the benefit of the students. He has served as the interim head of the arts department, been the faculty advisor for the yearbook, coached several sports teams, and continues to be the head of the Lifers Club. This year, Mr. Aiken joined the Lifers on their trip to the junior school, signing his name next to his daughters on the Lifers wall. For those of you who don't know, Mr. Aiken has taught at Shadyside for 33 years. If you count the 14 years he was actually a student here, that is a really long time. Mr. Aiken, what did you do with those 12 years that you weren't at Shadyside? Although I've never had Mr. Aiken in an academic setting, I heard that he is one of the best teachers in the school. I've had the pleasure of having him as my coach on the varsity girls golf team this fall. After each match, he would send our team an email highlighting all of the individual successes we had, and even went as far to make our team a spreadsheet with our individual scores and team record. After our first win of the season, Mr. Aiken took our team to McDonald's for McFlurries to celebrate. This is a small glimmer into his competitive side. Mr. Aiken has never met a sport he didn't like, except wrestling, my dad. I played against him during the faculty versus student squash match. He whooped me 11-0, barely having touched a racket in years, without breaking a sweat. I later learned that he was captain of the squash team at Shadyside and played in the number 1 spot. Besides squash, he played tennis and soccer at Shadyside and continued his soccer career at Denison. He remains super active as we do side-by-side Peloton spin rides at the gym. It's comforting to know Mr. Aiken looks out for members of the Shadyside community on and off campus. He loves to teach and works hard on making relationships with all of the students. He can remember every pot or glass art piece that every student has ever made. He has encouraged students through the years to be as creative as they can be. We are a little concerned that you don't know what you're doing with your retirement, so we want you to know that you're always welcome back at school, either as an alumni, a parent of an alumni, a teacher, a coach, an advisor, a mentor, or one of those crazy people that walk around campus but we don't actually know who they are. Mr. Aiken, I hope you take your peppy stride into retirement, and I hope that you get to play the 50 rounds of golf that you want this year. Thank you for all that you've done here at Shadyside. You've had an inspirational, long walk and will be greatly missed.
I'm sure we could all make a list of things that we wish were different about this year, whether it's missing out on school, sports, time with friends, or the lack of normalcy that we always seem to take for granted. Though I know that we will persevere and eventually everything will go back to how it was before, at least for the most part, I can't help but think that my senior year will be different for a reason other than our world's most recent events. Mrs. Lau will not be here next year. Though I'm inclined to be selfish and pity myself for losing my advisor and the school for losing its fearless leader of 6 years, she has taught me better than to be so negative. I hear you, Annabelle, but what are you grateful for? She would say. She's right. There are so many things to be grateful for, even in times of drastic change like now. I am grateful for her leadership. She has served as a warm, understanding, and courageous leader who doesn't let even the greatest odds stop her from her goals. I am lucky to have had the privilege of being one of her advisees, and I will always treasure the time spent during DR periods, reflecting on the week and discussing the things in my life that warrant gratitude. She cultivated a safe and empowering environment within our advisory, and I'm lucky to have made connections with her other advisees who I know will remind me to be grateful, even when she's not here to tell me herself. I know we'll miss her pumpkin bread and hot cocoa, though. Not only in DR, but in every aspect of school life, she is always grounded and somehow finds a way to stay positive, even when everything in life gives her a reason to not be. I can't imagine the pressure of leading an entire school, but she does it with grace. She connects with every student and knows more about each of them than just their names. I can't count the number of school events she's been to, and she does it all to support the students. She makes it a priority to stop you in the hall after a big game or performance and congratulate you, even if you barely had game or stage time. She cares about every student in a way that goes beyond her role as head of the senior school, and she is one of the best listeners I've ever met. That's something I think we can all learn from her. I can't tell you the number of times I sat in her office complaining about something that probably didn't really matter, but she never made me feel like what I had to say wasn't important or welcome, something I know she would do for any student. Leading by example, she has always embodied the guiding principles and has left a lasting legacy at Shadyside, one of gratitude and strength. I'm grateful for the lessons she has shared with our community, and I can only hope that I will carry her attitude as a leader and a person with me into next year and beyond. So, this week my gratitude journal says only one thing. I am grateful for Mrs. Lau. Thank you for everything.